Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. I'm your host, Shane McInnes, and it is viewer request night. You may be Spartacus out of soy.
Friends,
Romans,
Romans,
countrymen.
lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
So right off the top here, I've already got some thanks to say. So thanks, Moose, for that subscription. Much appreciated, my friend. I deeply appreciate the support that you offer. And thanks for that host, Ethan. Hope you're having a good one. Hope everybody's having a good one. It is Tuesday, and it has been a long Tuesday. Not necessarily a bad Tuesday, but a long one. Work was very, very busy today. Lots of things sort of popping up when I did not expect them to be popping up. One thing that is, I guess, unlooked for and exciting is that we've had a very late season cold snap. And I could not have hoped for this. I did not ask for one more dip down into the 40s in the temperature, but Mother Nature decided that she was going to throw me one more good snap. So this will probably be the last time you see the mug of appropriate size full of very tasty tea here on stream for quite some while. This is almost certainly the last cold weather that we will get until the end of the year. For those of you that do not know, Mississippi really doesn't get cold weather, and when we do, it's effectively the apocalypse. We have shut down before under the threat of snow. Not actual snow, just the threat of snow. It is not English breakfast. It's actually Earl Grey. I do quite like English breakfast, though. Hey, Joey, welcome. Glad you could make it, my friend. So, yeah. Probably. Well, I don't know. It's going to be cool enough on Thursday that it might be tea time on Thursday night as well. I will relish it as long as I can get it, though. But normally it's so hot down here that there's just no drinking tea that's hot is because it's already a bajillion degrees outside, and who wants to be hot on the inside and on the outside? So there we go. All right, but the show is Adventures in History. I am Shane. I teach history for a living. It's one of my things. And the show here is talking about history in a way that makes it approachable and fun, and throw in some pop culture here and there just because, why not make references to all those movies and songs and TV shows that we love? It's just more fun that way, right? And tonight is a very special viewer request stream put in by our very own Joey the Saint. An idea that started ruminating a few months ago, mostly out of my wife's desire to look at pictures. My wife is a very visual individual. She's a very talented artist, and she likes looking at photos. And she's always sort of urging me, like, "Hey, put more pictures in. Put more pictures in." Hey, Mythic Acrylic, welcome. Good to see you, DJ. So she sort of got this idea of just having a stream that's all photos and very little of this and a lot more of the photos. And we're getting to the photos, I promise. Just want to make sure that I let everybody know what we're doing on the VOD if you catch it later. So tonight is going to basically be one very long, extended adventure hat session. And in the spirit of this rather adventurous night, I have donned. You meant pitchers. You like baseball pitchers, or pitchers like pitchers of water. Which one? I mean, there's some hunky looking baseball pitchers that might be decent enough to look at. I don't know if that's really what you were after, though. Anyway, so in the spirit of adventure stream, if we will, instead of just adventure hat summoning, I have donned full adventure garb. I am wearing one of the shirts that I very frequently wear when I go out in in the adventure world, and I'm also wearing the very rare appearance of the adventure pants. And yes, indeed. So the adventure pants are basically just khakis with big cargo pockets on them. So if you see me out in the field, I will look something like this, which is a pretty common sight if you are hanging around in an adventure world or some sort of archaeological dig. You will see me wearing the full adventure garb. But I felt like I needed to get into the spirit of the show, so my cushion is being all fuddy-duddy now that I've stood up. Due to massive voter fraud, you had to take responsibility and say, forget democracy, so you overturned the election with channel points. We did still have History of Archaeology last week, but I appreciate the joke. Looks like Ted Cruz hiding at the border. Oh, that's unfortunate. I like to think that my goatee is well trimmed. So, low blow there. Okay, so we will be showing photos all night tonight. And when I asked for what people wanted, I got a very wide variety of requests. I got castles, I got tombs, and then I got Shane being embarrassed, and then I got food. So I have tried to accommodate all of those and more with the photos that I have selected. I got a couple of other fairly good suggestions from our very own Mac, one of our mods here, who said, don't forget about the things that people wouldn't normally get to go see. Don't forget about scenes of really big and really great scenery. So we've thrown all that stuff in today. And from stories I know, good had lead you... Okay, oh, food. Food had led you to embarrassing moments. There were a few of those in Jordan, yes. There is a reason now why one of my my adventure pants pockets is always full of toilet paper. And we'll just say I learned my lesson about eating raw vegetables. Never eat food you find on the floor in tombs, even if they do so in video games. Exactly. Just don't eat the food, right? Okay, so I've set up the stream tonight in sort of blocks. And we'll go through one particular location, and I'll talk about the particular location. And I've got usually between 10 and 15 photos of each location. And I've chosen these all for specific reasons. And when we get to them, I will talk about them specifically. And I do want everybody to know that I did sort of pick one from all of the things. You know, there are touristy things that we'll look at tonight, but there are also very much off the beaten path things that we will look at tonight. We will look at very, very, very ancient stuff and more modern stuff, and there's a bit of a mix in there. So I tried to make this as much of a variety as I could without making any one thing overbearing. I also have no idea how long it's going to take to move through these. I did a little bit of reckoning and figured that if I talked about each photo for maybe 30 seconds and showed each photo for 30 seconds, that would mean that I need about 60 photos for half an hour, and, you know, sort of go on from there. But I ended up sticking around 100, and because I chose this location because I pooped on the site. I chose this one because I pooped on the site. Oh, Moose. I don't think I have any photos tonight from places that I have pooped. Nope, I went to the bathroom in one of the churches. I went, not like in the restroom. I went to the modern restroom, by the way. I have fallen off of one of the sites tonight. Nope, I didn't show that one actually. I don't have that one in yet. I'll put that one maybe in the next one. Let's just go ahead, and I will go ahead and don the adventure hat, which I will be wearing for the continuation of the rest of the stream. For those of you that hang around, this is the adventure hat. I wear it when I talk about places that I have been or things that I have seen. And it's actually a fairly, we don't get the adventure hat every stream. It's a sort of a special treat, and this stream is sort of like a big string of special treats. So yes, if you got them, share them, right? All right, so here we go. Do you have to put up the opinion hat on top of the adventure hat when you have opinions of your adventures? There will probably be some opinion mixed in, but if I get especially opinionated, I might double up hats. Yes, I can get... Well, the opinion hat has fallen. I guess I theoretically could get double adventure-y and opinion-y. New emote, opinion hat on adventure hat. I could do that, but I don't think it would look very nice. All right, so let's talk about some locations. And the first place that I want to talk about tonight and show you pictures of is a church. Fair warning, there are going to be two churches here at the beginning. If you've been around me, you know that I like religion. I enjoy going to sacred locations. I enjoy going to churches. I enjoy going to mosques and temples and synagogues and all of these things. So I have like a bajillion pictures of religious sites. They will have to fight. You have this muted because Cammy is on a call, but you saw two hats and you're already into whatever is going on here. Let me type to Jay real quick. All right, there we go. So now Jay knows where we are. And I've also modified things a little bit so that when we go to images like so, instead of me just saying, hey, this is St. Francis Xavier, and you're going, wait, where is that? I can go boom, 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 St. Francis Xavier, boom. As in places that you have been to that you are showing tonight. Jay's being a bit persnickety, but that's okay. I appreciate the ribbing. Okay, so this is St. Francis Xavier. It is a church. It is in St. Louis, Missouri. And the reason I wanted to show you this particular church is that one of the things I have found in a lot of my travels and speaking with students and talking about different places that I've been is that a lot of people think that you have to go to Europe to see really big, old, cool churches like this. And you don't. In fact, you don't have to even leave the United States. So this is St. Francis Xavier Church. It was the location of the first English-speaking parish in St. Louis. For those of you that don't know very much about St. Louis, it's a pretty big city in the United States, but it used to be one of the biggest cities in the country. Jay Axer. I'm Spartacus. You all know what that calls for. That calls for all the Spartaci. Alrighty. So, again, St. Louis used to be one of the biggest churches in the one of the biggest Catholic sites in the entire United States. It still is a very important Catholic site. one of the archbishops of the United States lives there. Have I been to St. John the Divine in New York City? I have never been to a church in New York City, Vern, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get back up there. So the current location where it is built now was chosen in 1867, and they started building it in 1884, and they chose to build an old Gothic style. And the thing about Gothic churches is that you are going to be able to note a few things that are very much giveaways. And the Gothic style of churches always has these very pointy arches that are very much designed to point upward and draw your eye upward. You see these big windows that are designed to bring in light. One of the things that the Gothic style wanted to do was avoid a lot of the sort of the stuffiness that was the medieval period, where church was supposed to be very dry and sort of rote. So these buildings are literally designed to bring more light into the church. Here's another photo here of the front, a little bit closer. One of the things about a Gothic church that is notable, if we look here down the sides, you will see these guys right here. And what these architectural things are, they are called buttresses. And a buttress is designed to hold up the weight of the walls. And when we get inside here, you're going to see that the internal walls of these are very, very big. And one of the things about Gothic churches is that they are big on the inside. And they are designed to be very, very lofty. And you see these great ribbed archways that are sort of the barrel of the church. So these big, tall walls have a lot of weight. And of course, these big arches and domes are going to have a lot of weight. So you need those fancy buttresses to hold up the weight of the walls. The church that we're looking at was completed in 1898. And they are bigger on the inside, right? Every photo should have an Assassin's Creed character hidden in the rafters. I did not think of that, but that's great. So the spire, the big tall spire, was added in 1914, and then the stained glass windows that we see here were added over the period of time from 1929 to 1938. So all of the windows that are running down the side here. No, this does not have a filter. This is just the natural light inside of the building. I mean, they do have some lights you can see here running down the side. They also have lights hidden here, but the majority of this light is natural, and that's part of the design of a Gothic church. It's really supposed to pull in a lot of that natural light to remind you that, very blankly, that Jesus is the light of the world. So you're supposed to get a lot of the symbolic imagery just by looking at some of the things in here. So if we zoom in a little bit, this is the big altar piece here. I've got another photo of this a little bit more closely, but you can see all of these great stained glass windows up at the top here. This is one of the cooler churches that I've been to inside the United States, and I really enjoy taking students here. I've been here twice with students on a field experience called the Religious Architecture Field Experience. So we go look at several different types of churches. We also go to Native American sites. We go to...
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus. Hey, you Neil.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus. Thank you, Neil. Much appreciated, my friend. We are doing photos tonight, and nothing but photos. All photos, all the time. So one of the cool things that I like to point out here is all of these decorations. So the photos, the stained glass windows themselves are just beautiful works of art, but they also have these really great, what are called Stations of the Cross, which is a Catholic belief. Talks about the progression of the actual crucifixion scene. But these are all done in bas-relief in different places around the building. Quite nice. We have some side chapel stuff here. This is a Gothic chapel where you see the nice arch, but of course even the decoration we have here where we have the Madonna and Child You see this nice big pointy thing here that's pointing up towards heaven. Again, the idea is to pull your eye upward and make you look up. Here's a closer zoom in of the actual altarpiece here. You see several scenes from the life of Saint Xavier, Francis Xavier, the name of the saint that the church is named after. You have a big picture here of the big, nice rosette stained glass window that's basically above the entryway. Why aren't the figures pointing up too? Well, the idea here is that, and this is actually left over from a really old, well, I mean, I guess even pagan concept or old polytheistic idea. You tell the stories through sculpture and figure because most people couldn't read. And the pointing upward would be a bit too much, but sometimes you do see quite a bit of religious architecture where they have a figure that is sort of pointing upward. So to remind everybody, once again, if you're just joining us, this is St. Francis Xavier Church. It's in St. Louis, Missouri. Here's a little bit more of a close-up of the stained glass window. Absolutely beautiful artwork here. Really pretty colors, and when the light hits it just right, it's literally dazzling in the actual meaning of the word dazzling. Okay, so there is that guy. So again, this is in the United States, and this is a church that you might think is fit for someplace in Europe, and you would not be too terribly wrong for that. Oh, I actually had a couple more photos of that. Let me go back. Images. Boom. Here we go. So here's the stained glass windows behind the altarpiece here. Here's a great shot of the barrel vault. I do not have, well, I have St. Louis Arch pics, but I don't have them in the stream tonight. And then finally we have, that's San Vigilio, but we're skipping ahead. Okay, so St. Francis Xavier in St. Louis, you can go check it out. It's open just about every day. It doesn't cost anything to go in. Beautiful church. It's currently run by the Jesuit order, and it's attached to St. Louis University, which is one of the various Catholic universities that's actually run by the Jesuit group today. All right, let me switch over to Cathedral San Vigilio. Let me shrink that size down a bit. We're going to go to 36. How about that? Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to show you something that looks maybe sort of like that, but is in Europe. And if you thought like, oh, he's being full of crap and the church looks like something that you could find all over the place, well, you're not necessarily wrong. This is the Cathedral San Vigilio, and this is in a place called Trento, Italy. And this is another Gothic church. Now, this one is substantially older. But what we're going to see with this is a lot of the same stuff. If you'll note, we still have the same concept here of the big rosette window. You still have sort of the big pointy arch stuff here with some decorations up at the top. You still see these really big and tall walls with your bell tower up here. This is a pretty cool church. If you're looking down the side here, they have actually done a really good job of hiding the buttresses. But if we look closely, you can still see them because they're still hanging around. They're just very well hidden in between these nice big windows here. And hidden in the crowd, an Assassin's Creed character. Exactly. Yes, they will stab you. So this church is one of the more interesting ones that I got to go to on my last trip to Italy. It was built so there was actually an original church that was built in the second half of the 11th century. So in the early half of like around 1050 or so AD. And it was finished in like the early 1100s. But this current church that we're looking at right here was begun in 1212 AD and was finished in 1321. So it took over 100 years to build this guy. And if we look at it on the inside, we see a lot of the same stuff. You have those nice big columns. You have the ribbed and vaulted ceiling here. You have the big mantelpiece. I'm sorry, not mantelpiece. The big altarpiece here in the middle of the long aisle. You have the side chapels. So this is, again, an example of a very early Gothic church. You have your side chapels with neat little sculptures and stuff. One of the coolest thing here, I chose this picture in particular because of this little bit up here at the top. You don't usually get Adam and Eve with the serpent imagery inside a church, but that guy was pretty honkin' neat. But this particular wooden cross right here was, or this painting right here was based on a particular wooden cross that was in the church for quite some time. There's a lot of art in here that we could talk about. Here's another one of our nice side chapels, right? So we still have the concept here of these little apses off to the side where you can do some praying or some altar stuff. This is the actual altar piece itself. This is a particular piece that sort of copied a pretty famous artist named Bernini. Bernini had built a really big altar piece that looked like this for St. Peter's Basilica, which is in Rome. And the artist that made this particular one sort of copied some of his style, especially these sort of fluted columns here that look like spirals. That's a pretty big copy from Bernini. Alrighty. And by the way, if you all have any questions about this stuff, you're welcome to ask. So here's a nice big stained glass window again, as well as some pretty cool 1400s fresco work on the life of St. Vigilius, the church that is named after. Here we see some really cool decorative work. We have the crest of the city here in the window itself. Had to get the light here a little bit differently. Looking straight at it was kind of messing me up camera-wise. This guy is actually something you can visit under the church. So you can go under the current church and you can actually see the remains of the original church that was built back in the early 1000s. This would have been the original apse of the church, where sort of the back part of the church and the walls would have been over here. This was the original flooring. This is some pretty neat stuff. Here we have a great frieze here of St. Vigilius being boiled alive, which is unfortunately one of the fates that happened to a lot of the early Christian martyrs. And we have here an old painting of the crucifixion, and this had actually been plastered over. And the marks that you see were marks that people made by removing some of the old stuff to get down to this before understanding what was up under it. So it's pretty old. Back into the early 1300s is probably when that was painted. All right. So that's pretty cool stuff. How's everybody liking this? Is this floating your boat? Is this doing everything that you hoped it would be? Or is this just more of me talking and pointing at stuff? I await your decisions. You can be brutal if you want to. You can say, this is horrible. This is exactly not what Shane takes us to church. Ba-doop, ba-doom. Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Let's go to somewhere else that's religious. I don't know why I have my map up here. I guess I could do something with the map. But it is what it is. All right. Back to the images. So this is Cahokia. And you're like, okay, I know you've talked about this before. I have talked about this guy before. This is the largest Native American site in the United States. It is the largest Native American mound, or has the largest Native American mound outside of places in Central America, and it is absolutely honking humongous. So here we see students that were with me when I was going on this trip, and here we see this enormous Native American mound. They kicked me out when the holy water started to boil. Oh, Moose. So, Cahokia was a city that was populated by Native Americans from about 1050 AD to about 1350 AD. And the particular image that we're looking at is what's called Monk's Mound. Monk's Mound is 10 stories tall. The footprint is 13.8 acres, which is roughly the same size as the footprint of the Great Pyramid at Giza. So if you've ever seen a picture of how big Giza's Great Pyramid is, the footprint of Monk's Mound here is the same size. It's absolutely ridiculously enormous. It was not built all at one time. It was built over about 150 to 200 years, and over 10 really big periods of work. There are actually several different levels. So like there's a sort of a bottom level and then a medium level and the top. These were sort of added at different periods of time. But this is an absolutely enormous location. The population that would have lived at this location when it was at its height is somewhere between 14 and 18,000 people. And if you compare that to other cities on Earth at the same time, Cahokia was about the same size as London. So this is absolutely enormous. And what we're looking at here is about halfway up the mound. We're looking out at various mounds across the site. You can see here that there are a whole bunch of other mounds. There's one back here. There's another one, a big one right back here. Another one over here. It's actually two system mounds here.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
Cammy, no need to interrupt. Thank you very, very much for that subscription. No, the modern people paved the road. Are any of these still hidden on the public lands here? Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of Native American mounds that have not really been explored very much. So, actually, don't do that. Now I know through as you can. Oh, fun times. So, the site of Cahokia is ridiculously big, and over the course of this entire area, by the way, there are something around 120 different mounds of various sizes and shapes. I have lots of other pictures. This, by the way, is Dr. Nikovich, one of my colleagues and a great friend of mine who has taught me an enormous amount of history over the course of his tenure. You can see here, again, looking out across the site, we have mound over here. We've got another one over here. There are just dozens and dozens and dozens of these mounds. Again, here's a car in comparison to this mound, so you can tell that this thing is pretty substantial. Now, you can actually go to the visitor center. We normally don't take students to the visitor center because they really want you to sit down and sit through this video that we can sort of give the cliff notes on top of the mound here a lot faster. Did you have to wear your adventure hat to avoid sunburn there? The last time I went, it was actually freezing cold. To the point that some of the reason the grass here looks brittle is that it had actually frosted the night before. And no, I did not need the adventure hat at that point. So here's another mound here. Here's the Mississippi River. Big honking Mississippi River. Boom. I don't always have the adventure hat on, but if the sun is out, I usually wear some sort of head covering. Yes. He has an adventure hoodie. I don't actually get cold, so I did not have an adventure hoodie. So here's another big mound here. Some trucks and 18-wheelers in comparison. Really, really cool site. Costs nothing to go to. May I get a Cliff Notes versions of what mounds were for? Landmarking. They were a mix. Some of them were burial mounds. Usually the smaller ones are for burial purposes. Those are always usually shaped differently. Smaller ones like this that had flat tops were usually used for ceremonial purposes. So there might be the house of an important priest on top of that one. They might have some sort of religious ritual on top of this mound. They might play some sort of music from the top of this mound so that it sort of filters out to the crowd. Some of the really, really big mounds, like Monk's Mound or Emerald Mound here in Mississippi, were large enough for them to have sporting events on top of. So anyway, these are really cool sites, and it's just on the side of the road. Like, you can drive through here and just see this stuff kind of all around. Do we know if they were just burying Fido in the backyard? Oh, the Assassin's Creed character is buried there. Certainly. Right. So this is the grave of Ezio Auditore. Earlier, we showed this one's for Altair. Notice his is bigger because he was more important than Ezio. This little one right here is that guy that was the protagonist in Assassin's Creed Rogue. I can't even remember the guy's name, but he started off as the bad guy, and not Desmond, no. Desmond is still alive, and he's saving us from the Ezio single-handedly restored the Assassin Order. Such disrespect. You might have caught on, but Shane is all about some mounds. He will pull over to the side of the road to check them out. Yes, I will. Mounds are all right. I'm more of an Almond Joy guy. Mac, I such appreciate that. I appreciate both the setup and the delivery. So, very well done, my friend. I I appreciate that a lot. Oh, let me get back to the photos here. I've got some more. Mostly just to show you again how honkin' big this thing is. So, there's a big old view from the top of the mound. Here's down the side. Here are our tiny little vehicles over here. This site is ridiculously enormous and ridiculously cool. I feel like we're playing GeoGuessr. You're always confused if you're driving past Cahokia or the dump. The dump is actually just up the highway. About 5 miles up the highway, you pass the giant dump. And I'm not joking, there's an enormous landfill. Probably on top of some other mounds that they have since bulldozered. Okay, so here we go. This is another one of the really big mounds here. You can spend all day at Cahokia just walking around the site and checking out the cool stuff. And it's a really great place to go. Again, it's 100% free to go to. Anybody can just, hang around. And I really do want to encourage people, take advantage of the stuff that's around you. There is history everywhere. You don't have to go to Europe or Africa or Asia to see history. You can go see history right down the road from you. There's probably some sort of state landmark that's not too far away that you might pass all the time. Pull in. If you see one of those little road signs that's like something, hey, long time ago happened here, just go hang out and check it out. And you never know, it might be really cool. You might learn something about yourself. Is there history in Toronto? There is absolutely history in Toronto. All sorts of it. Going way, way back. I think there might be some Native American mounds in Toronto. Have I been to the mountains of New York? I have not, Cammie. I would love to travel literally anywhere. I've been to New York City, and that is my extent of travel in the state of New York. I know that there are a lot of really cool things up in the Adirondacks. Lots of neat history. I'd love to go to some of the Revolutionary War battle sites up there. Really cool stuff. What's a good historical area near Los Angeles? You haven't run across much before the 1850s. Tuna, I'll be more than happy to do some research for you. The closest thing that I could think of around there would be the tar pits. I mean, La Brea is... I would love to go to La Brea. That'd be really cool to see all of the fossils and stuff that they've pulled out of La Brea. Okay, so one of the things that I was told that I had to share was pictures of food, because everybody loves looking at pictures of food, right? So I have a few pictures of food. I'm not going to go overboard with showing you pictures of food, but I do feel like I have to show you pictures of food. Man, I hate food. Freaking food. Great Sacondaga Lake. Great Sacondaga Lake. I will have to put that on the list. I want to go everywhere, by the way. Do you ever want to go there? Yes, that's the answer. Yes, I want to go there. The problem is that I don't have enough money and time. Okay, so Sacandaga. Thank you. All right, so there are several rituals that I have developed in my travels, and one of them is flying through Atlanta if I'm going to certain locations. And at Atlanta, you can eat at the Varsity. This is a local Atlanta location, and it is one of those old-fashioned greasy spoon diners, and it is amazing. Yes, that is a hamburger and onion rings. It is also a peach pie and a frozen orange. You have eaten at the Varsity. Well, the Varsity is bloody amazing. And also, for those of you that are flying, if you want, they have now put Varsities inside the Atlanta airport. They are in the big food concourse, and you can check it out. Peaches in Atlanta? Unheard of, indeed. So, what do you have? Exactly. What do you have? And you have to order it the right way. And there's a whole lingo to ordering it the right way. And Mac hates it. Yes, I know, Mac, you don't like the Varsity. I know. I love it. And it has become a staple. You go through and you eat the Varsity. And you get the onion rings and you get the greasy food. You want to order wrong on purpose, they'll just laugh at you and they'll give you what you want. So this is a tradition. If you ever travel through Atlanta and you're traveling with me, I will eat at the Varsity. And I will run from terminals to get here on time if I have to. All right, so there's the Varsity. But what about this thing? Now, this is getting a little bit more specific. This is moussaka. And this comes from Greece, and I ate this on my most recent trip to Greece. Moussaka is one of the most amazing things ever. So what we have here are big, chunky, what they call chips, but I mean, they're fried potatoes, but they're fried mushy. They're not fried crispy. And then you have moussaka. And this is seasoned lamb mixed with lots of neat and good old-fashioned Mediterranean spice, and eggplant. And then on top of it, you have this really lovely mashed potato thing with some caramelization on top of it. Moussaka. Woo! Moussaka. Right. Moussaka is amazing. And I was very happy to finally eat some inside Greece. And this was one of the better meals that I had while I was there. Much better looking than the diner down the street. Well, I mean, this is literally as authentic as you can get. I ate it in Greece. Really good stuff. I'm a big fan of eggplant. It's one of my favorite veggies. Hey, Mayor Berzini, welcome. Never been to Greece, but you'll need to go. Bucket list, ? If you want to go to Greece, it's not a bad place to be. There are some things that you need to learn before you go there that I had to learn while I was there that I would be happy to teach you before you got there so that you would be more prepared than I was. Gyro. Gyro is how you pronounce that. Greece, not a bad place to be. I would be there right now if I could. The island of Crete is amazing. One of my favorite places that I've ever been. Very laid back. It was also the hottest place that I have ever been. But you all are getting lots of free adventure stories tonight. This, of course, is baklava. One of my favorite desserts. Love me some baklava. So, what are the things you need to know about going to Greece? It's a list, Jay, and if you're actually interested in going, I'd be happy to share it with you. It's rather involved. Kami calls through the screen. I love me some baklava. Love me some baklava. Phyllo pastry with honey and nuts mixed in. It's light and flaky and sweet, and I love it. Seen pics, but you're going now. I love Alton Brown's explanation on how baklava came about. I am not familiar with that. Tuna, if you would like to share that, you are welcome to. These lovely little guys are called keftedes, and they're effectively really nice little lamb meatballs. And these are, again, the chips, and of course your fresh veggies. And this is Greek ketchup, which does not taste like American ketchup. Greek condiments, that they have ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise, they are very, very different than our ketchup and mayonnaise. So you have your nice little seasoned lamb balls here that are very lightly fried so that they get just crispy on the inside, but they're still juicy in the middle. And then you go to town. I love me some keftedes. Yeah, Japan's mayonnaise is way different too. Yeah, absolutely. The world does mayonnaise really differently than the United States does. And to their benefit, I really like mayonnaise in other countries. I really don't like mayonnaise that much in America. It's way too oily for me. But like Greek mayonnaise is amazing. It's light. It doesn't taste bad. Like when you eat it, it doesn't get all over the inside of your mouth. It is tomato ketchup, but they put particular types of spice in it, and they don't put sugar in it. So there we go. All right, so there are keftedes. So now that everybody's hungry, let's get back to the history stuff. And now that I've done the obligatory food posts, let's do the obligatory tourist destination. And let's talk about the Colosseum in Rome. Mounds. All right, Colosseum. Boom. Here we go. Everybody loves the Colosseum, right? You've seen this a million times. It's all over the place. The Colosseum was a big old honkin' building that was begun in 72 AD, actually having fish from around the corner. Vern, I am jealous. I like fish. I like seafood in general. I did not purposely show pictures of all of the food because I was hoping that people would like this stream enough that they might request it again, and I didn't want to burn through all the good stuff in the first go. FYI, the only reason he had to take pictures of Greek food is because I told him to take them. Yes. Okay, did they cut the wall to keep it from crumbling, or did it crumble that way? It fell down, and then they put cement on it to keep it stabilized. You like leaving the fish in the microwave at work. Alas. So here's a little bit more of an up-close picture. Doesn't look that big. Do you have a picture with the banana in it for scale? Well, here are people. How did I spell Colosseum wrong? What did I spell wrong? Did I put... Okay, Coloda. Adventure Foods. You wanted to make sure it was smooth like that on purpose? Yeah. So here's the non-broken side of it, and you can see what it would have looked like all the way up. People aren't bananas. Well, some people are. And they took stones from it to make other stuff. They did. It's called spoila, where you take stones from one big cool thing and use it to make another cool thing. Or less cool thing, as it may be. Sometimes it's just houses. So anyway, the Emperor Vespasian started building this thing in 72 AD. It took about 8 years to build, and his son Titus, who became emperor after him, finished it up. And then some other seating was added by his second son. There's a guy named Domitian, who is the Antichrist. But that's a whole other stream. And Domitian worked on it, adding stuff from about 81 to 96 AD. The Colosseum sits about 80,000, which is ridiculous. We are now inside of the Colosseum, and a lot of the stuff that we're looking at here would not look 100% the same. These would have been covered here. You can see that they've had to sort of shore up some of the construction. It is a very old building. It's 2,000 years old, you know. Love those evenly repeated arches. Absolutely. The Romans were excellent at building arches. It was one of their favorite things to do. When you got out of the subway and saw it for the first time, you were speechless. Looked like all the pics you've seen your entire life, but it's so much bigger. Yeah, it's pretty honking big. It's a lot bigger than a lot of people think it is. Again, it seats 80,000. So this is from the south entrance looking across to the north entrance, and you can see all of this stuff. Now, in the ancient times, these would have all been benches and seating to save weight. A lot of that stuff was made out of wooden planks, but of course the stone itself has fallen over the course of time because, again, it's 2,000 years old. This is the floor of the Colosseum, and the floor level would have actually been right here where this platform is. This would have all been under the floor. So if you've ever seen Gladiator, which is one of the movies that a lot of people refer to when they think about the Colosseum, you'll know that stuff could pop out of the floor, like, hey, it's a tiger, random bear attack. Yeah, and the quarters of a lot of the gladiators were down here, and they kept a lot of the wild animals down here. Could anyone be thrown through the floor like Tekken? No. If you got thrown through the floor, you're probably going to die. It wasn't going to let your health bar stay where it was. You're also not going to get uppercutted off into the acid like in Mortal Kombat, even though there is a lot of green here on the floor. This is not Reptile's lair. Toasty. Anyway, there's a deep cut for somebody. Random sea battles complete with sea. Indeed. You could make this bottom row here watertight. And it was very common, well, not very common, but on occasion, they actually flooded the bottom row here, and they would have mock sea battles. Some dreams must stay dreams. How? Well, yeah, they put the floor down and they pitched over all of the gaps and then diverted the flow of the river into the Colosseum and would fill it up to right about here, and then have all sorts of little battles with ships and stuff. It's pretty great aside from the dying. Yeah, aside from the dying. There are a lot of people that died here. Lots of people. So you can see how tall this is. And again, here are some people. I tried to pick pictures that had specifically points of reference. So these are all, normal sized people. And here's how big this thing is. It's ridiculously enormous. And it's sort of overwhelming when you get inside of it. And again, let me remind everybody, this is not the way it would have looked in antiquity. There would have been a lot more stonework here. There would have been benches and even stadium seating. Dude, we're having trouble keeping water rides in amusement parks, and they're having whole battles. Yeah. Did they use duct tape to seal the gaps? The Romans invented a lot of stuff, but they were not the inventors of duct tape. That is a common misconception. Some people think that they did invent duct tape, but it's not actually them. That was something that they stole from the Greeks. And of course, we know that the Greeks actually stole most of their stuff from the Egyptians, and the Egyptians really just copied and pasted from a lot of the stuff that was happening in Sumeria. So you're going to have to go all the way back to the ancient city of Quirk, which of course is pronounced in modern ways quack, which is also where we get the word duck from. So there you go. That's where duct tape comes from. When you were at the Colosseum, there was a couple taking wedding pictures. Yeah, that's great. That's happened in a lot of places that I've been to. I went to a ridiculously ancient Roman fort in the middle of the desert nowhere, Jordan, and there were people taking wedding photos. And people were probably shorter, so very impressive. Right. Okay, so here's a better shot of the flooring of the Colosseum. You could see exactly how many different little cells were down here. Some of these would have had weapons, and some of them would have had food, and some of them would have had animals, and some of them would have had gladiators. They should have taken their wedding photos and then had a fight. Sea battle wedding. Yeah. What about Phoenicia? Bye, Phoenicia. That will never not be funny for me, by the way. When we talked about the Phoenicians, the name of the stream was Bye, Phoenicia. Because I love that movie. Anyway, they needed duct tape. So I do have a picture of me here because I felt like I needed to show photos of myself. This is actually before I owned the adventure hat. Way back in 2007 when I went there with my wife. And I did ask permission to share photos of my wife. So here's my wife here at the Coliseum with us. This was a belated sort of anniversary. Sort of a late... Okay, so we wanted to go do something after we got married. And it took us a long time to save up the money to afford to go. So we saved a while and then left several years after we got married. Isn't that all marriages, wedding, and fighting? Sea battle vacation, indeed. Your wedding had no fight. We just fought other people as a team. Hey, there you go. That's the right way to do it. It's not against each other in the wedding. It's just player 2 has entered the game, and now you have somebody to heal you when you get sniped out from across the map. There we go. Can't wait for our adventure meetups. Did your wife get harassed by the men as much as I did? Well, the thing about that is I'm 6'3" and rather broad-shouldered, and I can scowl pretty well. So a lot of the people just got scowled at and then realized, like, oh, we don't need to anger the large person. So that's lucky. I think technically means that Brittany gets the cheese. She has now appeared in the stream. Yeah, tall people unite above everyone else's head. Adventure had him to death. All right, so one of the requests that I got from the stream when I asked, what do you want to see? One of the people said, castles. And I'm like, okay, castles. I've been to lots. Which one am I going to show? And then I was speaking with Mac, who is, again, one of our mods. And I said, what castle should I show? And he's like, I don't know. And I asked him about our Greece trip, and he's like, I don't know. So I was going to try to kill two birds with one stone. So what we're going to look at is both a castle, and with this particular set of photos, I'm going to also accomplish the beautiful vista requirement for showing photos of a trip. And we are going to look at a place called Palamidi Fortress. I know you think that's spelled wrong, but I promise you it's spelled correctly. The Nathan Fillion Castle. No, this guy. Castle Belvedere. This is the Palamidi Fortress. And it is a big honkin' castle. The thing that we're looking at here that sort of dominates... No, this is not only a model. This is actually a... This is actually a castle. I would really love some White Castle. I could totally go for some White Castle right now. Okay, so Palamidi Fortress, it was built by the Venetians. The Venetians conquered this part of Greece. It's in the modern-day city of Nafplion. This is a Greek city near Argos. If you're familiar with any of the old Greek stories, you'll know Argos, one of the cities of the Mycenaeans. Stairs for real. Yeah. So if you eat anywhere in Nafplion, you'll hear people talking about the castle. And it's one of the big tourist attractions there. A lot of people come to Nafplion only to go to the castle. And if you want to walk up the stairs, they will tell you that there are 999 stairs from the bottom to the top. Hope you like stairs. Ski lift the castle. There's actually a road that drives up to it. At this point in our journey, I had tortured Mac enough. I was game for going up the stairs. Mac had been fighting a sinus infection on the trip and having trouble adjusting to the times, and I had made him march up mountains many times already. So we decided we're just going to drive up. So we drove up instead of taking the 999 stairs. Is it cursed or a creature from chaos? Neither. It's a big castle built by the Venetians. So again, the Venetians conquered this area. They started building the castle in 1711, and they finished building it by 1714. And they only controlled it for one more year. And at that point, the Ottomans took it over. And the Ottomans controlled it all the way through until the Greek Civil War, where the Greeks rebelled against the Ottomans. That started in the early 1820s. And by 1822, the Greeks had taken Naflion Castle. So there we go. All right. So here is the sort of the gate of the castle. You got to take a picture of the gate, and it's a pretty neat little place. Also to show that we did drive. So here's one of the big bulwarks, one of the big external walls. You can see that they are built on a very steep grade. This was, of course, designed to try to keep people from getting in. Just got burned out before they made the 1,000th step. There's actually not 999. There are only 913. The locals just say 999 because it's a neat little thing to say, like there are almost 1,000 steps to the castle. Bulwark, not bulwark. Like this. Bulwark. Lying locals gasp. The castle parking lot, indeed. We did not drive up the stairs. We drove up the very windy road that's only one lane up the mountain. Bulwark. So here we go. Got to check out the cannonballs. Cannonballs sitting in a corner, ready to be exploding upon the ships. And when we get into the castle and I start showing you the view, you're going to understand why you want to put your cannons in the castle, because the view from this place is nothing short of literally breathtaking. It's absolutely beautiful. Like this. So this is out on one of the parapets, and you can see the mountains of Argos in the background. You can see this really cool, great vista here. I really liked this place. I had such a great time here. I do have one photo here of Mac. He made me promise. Well, he didn't actually make me promise at all. I did tell him, though, that I would give him approval of photos that I shared. And I tried to pick one where he was far enough off that he would be slightly obscured. So I will not zoom in on his face, but you can tell that this is a great view here. Such a handsome fellow. He is a handsome fellow. The orange traffic cones are original. No, those were added later. Once the Ottomans took over the castle, they really wanted to make sure that the Ottoman children didn't fall off the side, so they added the traffic cones at that point. Pioneers in plastic technology, the Ottomans, by the way. So here's a shot down the second wall. So you see here that there is the main outside wall, and then you have a little bit of a gap, and then there's the internal wall. Yes, I was just being sarcastic there, Cammy. I was delivering that in joke form. But I had that ability to just roll right from actual factual material into the sarcasm, and I know that catches people sometimes. He looks like a gondola driver with a hat and a striped shirt. Well, I told him that he needed to bring his own hat because I was not going to loan him the adventure hat. But again, you can see how far up we are. You can see that this outside wall here is pretty steep, and even the inside wall here. So imagine having to climb up the mountain and then climb up this wall and then cross this area right here where these guys are shooting down on you and then try to face this wall. So this is like friggin' Helm's Deep kind of stuff. This is my adventure. So here is a shot of the city of Naflion, and it's such a great view up here. We ate at a really neat little pizza place. That was probably right around in here. Really cool stuff. Naflion is a city that's not too far. It's on the other side of the Argolid Bay from Argos. There is actually a really cool... I'm pointing at the wrong picture. It should be pointing over here. There's some ancient stuff on top of these hills over here. There's some temples and stuff that we didn't have enough time to go to that I would love to go back and see. Cloud Shadow, oh yeah, totally cool. Attack helicopter, oh yeah, absolutely. You need some quest markers. You're getting lost. So this is in... I can show you. This is in Greece. And it's in the southern part of Greece. We're going to zoom in. We're going to go to Argos. The Argolid Bay. Not Sparta. Nope. Well, hey, I can just do this. Check this out. I was on the wrong bay. Okay, so here we are. And this little peninsula right here, let me turn off borders and labels. Boop. This little peninsula right here is the castle. So you can see how honkin' big this castle is up here at the top of the mountain. And we are from this castle right here looking out over the city. And to zoom just all the way out to give you an idea of exactly where we are, there we go. Palamidi. If you want to know where any of this stuff is, I'd be happy to show you, by the way. I love talking about this stuff, by the way. This is pretty cool. So here's another picture down between the walls. You get to walk around all this area if you want to. Pretty neat stuff. Also, just, again, really cool to look at. This is the big honkin' cistern. What do you need with a castle? You got to have some water, right? You got to have a place to hold up the water in case the bad guys show up. So here you go. You got to have a big old cistern. Axer just said, imagine building all of that and then getting it stolen from you a year later. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That must have stank for the Venetians. Oh, so bad. So bad. You had your Zune stolen. Oh, no. That's unfortunate. The guy that stole it from you only used it for another 3 months and then got an iPod. So if it makes you feel any better, he didn't enjoy it any more than you did. So here we go. The required photo of the Argolid Bay. This is part of the Mediterranean. I did not use a filter on any of this. This is literally what it looks like. That color is natural. It is absolutely stunning. It's that great purpley red blue color there. Album cover. Ships in the Bay. Where's Jason and the Argonauts? Probably hiding out on the other side. Once they did their stuff, they had to kind of retire. Great views from this castle. You can see some of the internal work here. Ocean tree. See some of the defensive spots and some of the fortress buildings around in here. This is one of the cheaper places that we went to. I think it cost like €4 to get in. Really, really cool place. I really enjoyed this. All right, so there's the big honkin' vistas and the castle. Argos is Achilles' dog. Not Achilles' dog, Odysseus' dog. Achilles, well, he was another guy. Okay, so one of the requests that came from the group was... they accepted euros as payment. No, euros. Euro. Like that. One of the things that was suggested was to show places that are off the beaten path, that people don't know about, that might be hiding in their backyard. And again, I love those places. I really enjoy those places. So what I'm about to show you is a place called Windsor Ruins. And this is a place here in Mississippi. Not too far from me. It's about 2 hours away and is pretty neat. Now, when we transition from the fortress here, this is going to look like we're not really going anywhere. Like, oh, maybe could this be Greece as well? look at all the big honking columns, right? That looks like it could be Greek. And they are Greek columns, but this is actually the remains of a really big mansion that was built in 1861 here in Mississippi. And it was built in the Greek Revival style. And for a while, it was the largest Greek Revival building in the state of Mississippi. And it was originally 3 stories tall. And it had all of these really wicked cool columns here. There were 29 of them originally. 23 of them are still standing up. The house was used for a couple of years as a house. There was a big plantation here. The people that owned it did own slaves. It was taken by the Union Army, by Commander Grant when he moved through the region. That looks like a great place to go at night. There might be some weird stuff here. And once it was built, it got taken over a year later. 2 years later. It was finished in 1861, and the Union took control of it in 1863. Yes, very Corinthian columns, indeed. They had a lot of ironwork. Again, the building was 3 floors tall. The bottom floor would have been here at the base of the column level, and then another floor here in the middle, and then another one up at the top. So this is a really neat little spot. You can see my wife here by one of the columns, posing rather proudly. These kind of places just invite taking over. Well, if you build something cool, other people are going to want it, right? So this is a pretty neat little place. And again, it's free. You really have to know that it's there. It's in the middle of the woods. It's not really on a lot of the big touristy maps. You just sort of have to know where to go to see it. Is there writing on the bases? Not that I know of. There might be some graffiti on it. But the building itself ended up burning down. It caught on fire in the 1880s and burned flat to the ground. Now, some of the original ironwork you can still see up here. And the site itself is in pretty good condition. Now, they've put up the big fence here because they don't want people falling or, running around on the inside. But it's pretty neat. I have been there before this big fence was up, and I've walked all the way around in the middle. Like, ha, 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 look at me, I'm a rebel. By the way, jumping fences is not something that usually keeps me out of a place. I will jump a fence in a heartbeat. And because this is Mississippi, I felt like I needed to share something, and I was actually hoping that we might have Daria in the stream tonight. I didn't know if Daria Axonova, by the way, good friend of the show, and just good friend in life. So this is a wild Native American U.S. possum. Woo, possum. You can't see it very well, but it's a possum. The only marsupial in North America. So I had to throw the possum pictures in because, if you get a chance to show an opossum and you don't, what are you really doing with your life? I was going to guess possum or skunk. Yes, possum, indeed. They do eat ticks. So, technically that was in Louisiana. Well, yeah, sure, why not? Okay, so this guy, these steps right here, were originally on Windsor Building, and there used to be 4 sets of these big cast iron steps. And after the building burned down, over the course of time, 3 of them strangely vanished. As in, they were looted. And this was the last set there. So the Mississippi History Society and the state moved this set. There used to be 999. Now there are only 9. Anyway, they moved this set of the stairs to Alcorn University, which is just right down the road here in Mississippi. So you can actually go to Alcorn University today and see these steps where you can get a picture like this. So to just put this in a bit of perspective, here is a picture that was sketched by one of the Union soldiers staying at Windsor. This particular sketch comes from about 1863. We don't know exactly who drew it, but this gives you an idea of what the house would have originally looked like back when it was all put together. Really pretty stuff, right? It is fair to say and fair to note that this house was built with the proceeds from slavery, and the person that built this house would have probably not been able to build that had they not had slaves. So fair enough to put this into perspective, right? He drew all the windows. He did. You gotta put in the detail work, right? That's what makes it worthwhile. Okie dokie. So the next requests was a little bit off, but I went all there anyway. The next one was goofy and embarrassing stuff. So I don't know what I'm going to call this. Candid Shane photos. Here we go. I don't have many of these because, just to be honest, I don't photograph well. So here we go. Why not? Okay, so here's a picture of me eating dinner one night. And you go, well, that looks like a pretty nice spread of food. Don't photograph well, buddies. High five. Yeah. And you might go, what the devil is going on here? As a kid, we always picked the noses of all the statues. Why do I look so sad? Exactly. That's the great question. So the day of this photo, and as you note, I'm wearing the same shirt here that I'm wearing in the photo. This photo was after one of the longest days I've ever had doing archaeology stuff. I was sunburned. I had about 6 hours of sleep the night before, after a very strenuous day the day prior, and I had just been told by my colleague that he wanted to get up again early the next day and do a whole bunch of stuff that we did not have planned. And my response was, what now? We had been to 8 different sites that day. This is in Kizkilesi, a place in Turkey. And the day itself was fine, except for the fact that I was exhausted and sort of burned out, and now we were adding more things to the next day. So here we go. That's me going, I'm trying to enjoy my pita, and you're telling me what? So Kizkilesi, that was actually a great pita. Pita, by the way, is Turkish Turkish pizza. And we're going to see this and that, and sure, buddy, sure. Sponsored by Old Navy. Okay, so this is actually a bit of an involved story. And I'm not going to share the first half of the photographic evidence of this. I'm only going to tell you that this is at a location inside Turkey called Nysa. It's an ancient city. You can see a really cool theater in the background. This is not Old Navy. I think this is a Timberland shirt. Is it because you stuffed your buddy in one of those holes, didn't you? No. On a trip the previous year, we had taken students to Jordan. And we had also taken my friend's wife, whom I should note that I love dearly. She is an amazing woman. I love her to death. However, on that particular Jordan trip, we had stopped at every photograph option that was available. Is there a sun coming over a mountain? We're going to pull off the road and take pictures of it. Is there a camel? We're going to pull off the road and take pictures of it. Is there a random field of poppies? We are going to pull off the road and take pictures of it. And I had become rather, how do I say this? We had a schedule that we were supposed to be keeping to because the students were expecting to get to certain sites. and taking pictures of every single every single flower we saw along the way was getting a bit much. So on our next trip together, we did not have students with us. It was just myself and 2 other colleagues. We got to Nyssa and we found these flowers, and I said, you should take a picture of this and send it to your wife, and it'll get under her skin immediately. Your distaste of leaving the schedule has made you my spirit animal. Shane just wanted to grab everyone and throw them at adventure. Well, if we say we're going to do these things this day, and we have broken it down by time and driving distance, we don't have time to stop at every time we see a camel. We just don't have the time. We do not have the time to stop every time we see a nice vista that we need to take a photo of. Take a photo out the window as we're driving. Anyway, so we took this photo and we sent it to his wife, who responded immediately, as we would have expected, with, I can't believe you're taking pictures of flowers. So there's a little bit of cheekiness involved in this photo. This one. This photo actually came from the Jordan trip. This is from the ancient city of Petra, inside of Jordan. And I was lied to. I was lied to, and it made me so upset. So here's the thing. There is a location inside of Petra called the High Place. And to get to the High Place, you have to walk up tons of stairs. Now, at the bottom of the High Place, prior to walking up to the High Place, I had asked my colleague, how far is it up to the High Place? And he said, it's not that far. Maybe 350 steps. That was a lie. It was a lot more than that. And I hit the stairs going up to the High Place thinking that it was going to be 350 steps. And with the energy that I would expend if I was only going to climb 350 steps. When I got to the top of the High Place, I was bloody friggin' exhausted, and my colleague, who had come up at a much more conserved pace, made it to the top to find me on the ground, panting for my life, and then had the gall to say smile for a picture. So he got the most vicious side eye that I could possibly muster. I was rather upset at that moment. Oh man. Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing because I was sucking wind. And what's really crazy is that there was this older lady that was a local Bedouin lady who was probably in her late 60s, early 70s, that was climbing up behind us. And she got up to the top, like bouncing around and hugging everybody and saying hello to everybody. And I'm over here about to half die because I have exhausted myself on all these stairs. Reminds me of when I almost threw up climbing Stone Mountain in Georgia. Very similar. I don't personally throw up. I haven't thrown up since 1993. But I was very upset. Okay. So there are some embarrassing Candid Shane photos. I hope you all enjoyed those. I have a few more of those that I could probably share. Mount Baldy in Indiana. I'm not familiar with Mount Baldy in Indiana, but if it's a mountain, I probably want to pace myself as I'm going up it, not at the pace of about 350 stairs. Yeah. All right. And you're going to tell me that this is spelled wrong. I know, because that's actually how it's spelled. It's a sand dune that is slowly migrating. Oh, that's cool. How sand dunes migrate. Are you suggesting sand dunes migrate? My bro was born in 93 and made me throw up too. Got to head off to pick up the dinner. Leave the lurk on, and Kimmy will accompany me. All right, Jay. Safe trips on the dinner. I hope it's very tasty. All right. So another one of the things that was brought up was, let's talk about tombs. And I'm like, okay, what kind of tombs? And they were just like, tombs. And I'm like, alrighty, let's talk about tombs. So here we go. We're going to talk about tombs. And there is a location inside Jordan called Bab Edra. And it is a whole bunch of honking tombs. So we're looking out over the desert here. The tombs from Game of Thrones. Also known as Season 8. Those are the dregs, maybe. What we're looking at is the necropolis of the ancient city of Bab Edra. So we don't know the actual name of the ancient city that was here, but it was an early Bronze Age city, which puts it back somewhere in the 3000 BC range. Really honking old. And the tombs here date from earlier than that, from about 3500 BC, in the very earliest part of the early Bronze Age. So this is right after human beings in this region had figured out how to work metal. And most of the stuff that you're going to see here is Stone Age technology. Prime area for prairie dogs. Well, unfortunately, all of these little divots that you see here are actually tombs. And unfortunately, it's not prairie dogs that's getting into them. It is looters. The vast majority of the tombs at this site have been looted. Looting is a really big problem in this area. There is an estimated 20,000 burial chambers in this location. You can see some like this, for the bones or for the items in the graves. The items in the graves, the local people that are doing the looting are actually pretty superstitious about the bones and will either try to not touch them or will leave them in the tomb itself. What they're looking for is the early Bronze Age pottery and grave goods. 20,000 is crazy. It's absolutely enormous. The site itself is almost 200 acres. It's just tomb after tomb after tomb. So again, like this little divot is a tomb, and that little divot is a tomb, and this over here is a tomb. And you can see this right here. Eat all my worldly possessions, encase them in the safety of my ribcage. You can spend a lot of money on food, but I don't know if you can eat all of your worldly possessions. So this area is home to a lot of native Bedouin people. And I included this photo to let you know that these Bedouin people move around this area quite a bit. And one of the big things that they do is herd goats. That is very, very common. Again, you can see tombs all over the sides here. Any of these little openings are tombs. I'm going to eat a car just to spite you. You can do it if you really want to. And if you took small enough bites, you could probably get it down. You might have some trouble with the gas, though. That would probably give you more than just gas. So you can see how big some of these are. Some of them are pretty big. Some of them are smaller. A lot of them are what we call shaft tombs, where you'll see one big sort of vertical shaft and then smaller tombs that are spread out around the sides of them. But some of them are also just your sort of pit like this, where you just, dig a hole and put a lot of people in. But these get pretty big. Some of them have multiple chambers. I don't know if you can see this. I might need to zoom in here. But so inside of this, there is another chamber. And I think the brightness might be killing me here. Can you all tell that there's another tomb inside of this bigger chamber? I don't know how well this is coming through. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. So it's spooky as heck. Yeah, it's kind of creepy stuff. So this is that same one a little bit closer, but I wanted to get the full picture to show you how big this stuff is. So you can see here that you go down into this chamber, and there's a chamber here, but there's also one over here on this side. And had the people been using this long enough, you would have seen one over here. What's the scale? The thing that we're looking at right here is probably big enough for me to squeeze through. This might be 2.5 feet wide. I love a goat and saw traditional slaughter. It's all boiled. Yeah, goats are tasty. I quite like goats. So here again is across the site, and just giving you an idea of how many of these tombs, it's as far away as you can see. Like there are tombs away over here. All of this stuff is just covered in them. How many bananas could be buried here? You joke about bananas in Jordan, but there are actually tropical parts of Jordan right down by the Jordan River where they grow bananas. No joke. We drove through a banana plantation while we were there. So when they bury someone, do they crawl in with a casket or just put them inside? They're usually not using caskets very much during this during this period of time. If they did, it might be a very basic wooden box, but a lot of the times you would just prepare the body and orient it in the tomb and just kind of leave it there. You might wrap it up with something like a shawl or some linen if you were really, really rich. You were probably not going to have really elaborate caskets because, again, that's a lot of work, and they're already going through a ton of work just to get you buried in the first place. No, we're not going to talk about the Canterbury Tales. Wasn't sure what they use. Well, some of the things that they use are called ossuaries. Ossuary, ossuary. And it's basically a bone box where they will lie your body out in a tomb and state. And then once your gunk sort of dissolves and all that's left is your bones, they will take your bones and put them in a little box that's basically as long as your femur, because that's your longest bone. And then they will put your little ossuary in a bit of a cubby hole, and then they have the slab in the tomb to be able to use again for Jimmy when he dies. So this was a basic cemetery at the time. This is a particularly large one. You are not going to see necropoli this big in many places. The reason I shared this one is because of its immensity. That it is just absolutely humongous. So here's a shaft tomb again. So you go down this really big shaft, and then you have this hole opening right here. Again, this is about maybe 2.5 feet wide. Just put them in a crevice under some rocks. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Hey, what a figment. Welcome. Yeah, so you would climb down in here, and you would hang out in one of these tombs. And again, there's 2 chambers here, so there would have been 2 burial places. And you can tell that this has been excavated partially. Oh, hey, Stacy. For those of you that might be interested, the other colleague other than Dr. Browning that went with us on our Turkey trip was Stacy. And Stacy was also with me on this Jordan trip. Pretty neat stuff. Stacy is a colleague. We went to master's school together, took a lot of the same classes together, wrote her master's thesis on curse tablets and curses in the ancient world. Absolutely fascinating. Really enjoyed reading it. Some of the cool stuff that I know about ancient magic comes from reading her thesis. Excellent stuff. Another teacher. Yes, Stacy currently teaches in Korea. So curses, that's an interesting thing you can read about. You'd have to ask Stacy. So here we go. Yes. So Cami asked about bones. Look at the bones. This is a pretty common sight, unfortunately. So this is down inside one of the tombs. You get down here and you start seeing stuff like this, pretty common. And what's interesting about these bones in particular is that these are not ancient. These bones are modern. So yes, this is a tomb that has been looted, and by the way, Stacy has heard that a bajillion times and hates Fountains of Wayne for that. Yeah, so one of the things that is weird and common is that sometimes you'll see like piles of bones like this, but you can tell that this is, not an entire skeleton here because part of it has either been destroyed or is a part. But one of the weird things that you might find if you look in certain locations, especially where it's very, very isolated and the Bedouins use frequently, is that the Bedouins will use some of these locations as burial chambers even today. Is the fact that it's piled a clue of the looting? Yeah, the fact that it's in disorder and that you can see modern stuff like the bag here that they probably use to get, sediment and stuff out of the chamber. Yeah, unfortunate, but that happens a lot of places, and it's pretty rare to find stuff that's in locations like these that are untouched. So here's probably one of the biggest of the shaft chambers. You can see here this big pit. This would have been probably 15 feet across or so. These big openings down here would have been 3.5, maybe 4 feet wide. This is a really, really big tomb here. And here is a gravestone, and I wanted to find a way to get this back to customs to see if I could get it cleared so badly. Does that mean you have a chance of running into a current burial at any given time? If you're talking about Bedouins, they're usually going to do a lot of that stuff without people around. If you run up on a Bedouin burial, that's like a needle in a haystack. Most of the time when they're doing that, it's so isolated and at a place that's so far out that nobody really is going to run in there. No, you just sort of run up on the ancient site and you start looking around and you go, oh, there are bodies here. I've been to several places where that's happened. I have photographs of several places that's happened. Maybe on the next sharing photo stream, I might share. I don't know if that's against Twitch TOS. I'd have to check. Okay, so here I am with this big guy. This is an ancient grave lid that I found down in this shaft tomb that had been partially excavated, and they had just flopped the stone down. But this would have been basically the covering of one of those tombs. Shane of the Dead. And you could tell here that I was pretty dusty because I had been crawling around in holes all day. This was a really, really neat site. I really appreciated my time here. Really, really cool stuff. And it was one of the first things that we went to when we got to Jordan as well. So this really set the tone. Am I going to go back for it one day? I don't know if this would have made it through customs. This would have been something that I would have probably needed to turn over to some authority to make sure that they didn't want it first. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing, right? So there are 20,000 something tombs at this site, and a big piece of rock, it doesn't have any writing on it. It doesn't have any sort of decoration on it. It's literally just a flat rock that someone hacked out of a shale layer to use as a covering. It doesn't necessarily have a lot of intrinsic value to it. I just know what it is, and it would be really cool for me to have. So, no, I didn't have it. I probably won't ever have it, but it was a neat thing to see and photograph. Also, that would have been really hard to fit into my luggage. Okay, so there we go. That's Baba Draw. Really cool place. You have my memories, and now I get to share them with you all. So that was cool. All right, so we've done the sites, we've done the things, we've done the food, we've done the embarrassing pictures, we've done all sorts of the weird stuff, but we haven't done a museum yet. And we've got to do a museum because if we're going to show pictures, we got to show the museums, right? So we're going to show pictures from the Philippi Museum. Philippi is a city over here in Greece. It's from my Greek trip. It's right about here. We can zoom in a little bit. That's now Phleon still. Let's go to Philippi. This would have been in ancient Macedonia, and the Philippi that it is named after is Philip the Great, father of Alexander the Great, uniter of ancient Greece. And the ancient site is outside of the modern city, up in these hills right here. There is a really cool high place up at the top of the mountain. This is another one of those places where I sort of wanted to go to the top of the mountain, and Mac was like, don't really feel like going to the top of the mountain. And I'm like, okay, we don't have to go to the top of the mountain. There are some, we didn't go to the high place at Philippi, but we did go to this really cool museum that's on the site. So let's look at some ancient Greek stuff here in Philippi. You wanted to, your body could not. It's okay. I have no ill will against you. It would have taken about an hour and a half to do round trip, and I think we enjoyed that time in the lovely Thessalonica. Well, I enjoyed it because I ate the food and I enjoyed it. That was the night where we went to the particular restaurant that was very nice with the well-dressed men, and you didn't eat all of your dinner. Spirit is willing, but the body is riding. So this is some really, really ancient stuff. The city of Philippi was originally settled by a group of people called the Thracians back in 360 BC, but there had been people moving around and living in this area for quite some time, going all the way back into the what we might call the Mycenaean period, before the Dark Age of Greece. So there had been people living in this place for a couple thousand years. We can see some of the older stuff here. This is an older image of a human, which is pretty neat. We've got a cow, various pieces of really neat pottery here. We've got a strainer, really cool design here on the strainer, because to get the integrity of this bowl to hold up with all of the holes in it like that is quite an accomplishment. I don't know if you all know these things, but if you poke holes in stuff, it makes them not want to stay together as well. So the fact that that guy is still in one piece is pretty amazing. And I get really excited about basic things like that other people go, "It's a freaking strainer, Shane, shut up." Here we have some things that I'm not going to blur out from Twitch, but I probably should. These are little feminine statues, and they are exactly what you think they are. And I'm going to say that they're all wearing undies, so this is not against Twitch TOS. But these would have been really old, probably in the 2000 BC. You only see arrowheads. Exactly. But one of the earliest human figures that you see in a lot of places is, of course, the feminine figure, because women were magical. Women are still magical, but in the ancient world, they were much more magical. We see a really neat Bronze Age pot here with some really wicked decorations. No, not witches, magical. Women could make more humans. Men can't do that. I went to see dolmens here in Korea, and your friend spent the whole day going, "That's a rock." Oh, curses. Curses. Dolmens are wicked. I would love to go see the dolmens in Korea. I did not mention them because I was sad when we were talking about Korea last week that I have not been to see the dolmens in Korea. Dolmens, by the way, are freestanding rock structures that look a little bit like a table. They usually have two rocks that are set up vertically and then one rock on the top, like a table lid. If you think Stonehenge, you're sort of on the right path. Are you questioning your unicorn status? Absolutely not, Visual Nomad. Absolutely not. You are magical. You got pictures. So the cool stuff no one is excited about is totally me too. Yeah. What are these big rocks you showed us a few weeks ago? Maybe? I can't remember which big rocks I showed you a few weeks ago because, dude, I show so many pictures of big rocks. These are some really cool grave goods, including a full gold crown. This is really delicate gold leaf stuff here. Really, really pretty things. These would have been included in a very rich person's tomb. You can see this would have probably been either a belt buckle and some earrings and a really neat little decoration that would have perhaps been the sash holder on a toga or a robe or something. A brooch here. Really cool stuff. Basque. It begins with a B. What were we talking about, Cammy? What was the topic of the night? And that will give me a better idea. He likes big rocks, and I cannot lie. I do like big rocks. Big rocks are awesome. Monoliths are the way to go. By the way, and I feel like I need to do this, and I know that Jay was getting excited because this happened when he came in, but I'm going to have to do the double adventure and opinion hat here. About 3 months ago, there was this whole thing about there's a monolith in the desert. It can't be a monolith if it is made out of metal. Lithos means stone, people. Monolith means one rock. If it's made out of metal, it ain't a monolith. Get over yourselves. Stop retweeting stuff. Thank you. There's a bit of a rant for you. You showed us the photo of you in front of the thing that put Indiana Jones in the Ark. Oh, that's Petra. Yeah, the Petra tombs. Metal is a stone. Metal are just rocks. I disagree. Metal is metal, and everybody knows this, because if you are a believer in the elements, metal is different than earth, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And don't bring the Avatar junk at me, because even people that could stone bend couldn't always metal bend, and it's not the same thing. So, bleh. Is also made out of 5 or 6 pieces of stainless steel, not mono. There we go. Yeah, the Petra tombs, but there's a big rock that would leave tributes to. Oh, you're talking about that Beetle? Yeah, Beetle. There we go. Beetle. This is crystalline discrimination. Also, hey Visual Nomad and hey Junk Collector. I forgot to say hello to you all properly. Welcome, my friends. I hope you're having a good one. That was going to drive you nuts. Monometal. Okay, let's go back to this so that I can get off of my Avatar defense. Well played. Just because you're a waterbender doesn't mean you're a bloodbender. It's not the same thing. Okay, so here's an up close of the... And then the Fire Nation attacked. Right. So here again, this really cool circlet of gold. Really, really fancy stuff. I like this a lot. Okay, so one of the cool things about Philippi is because it was inhabited for so long, you have lots of really cool stuff. And we mentioned in our last viewer request stream, which was the history of archaeology, that one of the things that a lot of people forget about is that archaeology is not just the pretty stuff, it's the everyday stuff. It's the pots and the pans, it is the jugs, it is the lamps that people are using. This is the stuff that can tell us how these people lived. So I really always want to show pictures of just basic stuff. Like, what did a pot look like back then? There you go. What did an oil lamp look like back then? There you go. This is, so you can put some liquid over a fire and get it warm so that you can drink stuff warm. Maybe mulled wine or some sort of hot water thing. There you go. This is how people lived back then. They wanted to do the same things we did. They wanted to keep their food fresh. They wanted to try to hold on to, the value that they could. I like this particular statue here a lot. It is headless. Yes, it is a statue of a woman. Yes, and she is dressed very fancy. But the reason I took a picture of this is this little guy right down here. And if I show you the next picture, this is a little puppy. And his front legs would have normally gone right here, but they are currently broken off. But you have this sweet little puppy who is looking up at its owner with loving eyes. Because people in the ancient world loved their pets. And they would go to exorbitant lengths to have people commemorate their pets, right? These people are alive and they're real. Just because they lived a long time ago doesn't mean they didn't love their puppy, right? I feel like now I have to throw some puppy of war in the chat just for the sake of it. Well, now I need a marble statue of your dog. Do avatars get a secondary thing, though? Fire and electricity? What about air? Vern, I'm going to say that the alternate for air is fart. You can fart bend. Fart bending is the specialization for air bending. There you go. Because fart bending breaks air. Or it breaks wind, rather. There we go. Okay, so this is an ancient model of the city of Philippi. It was a really, really big city. The big forum right here, you would have had several different temples and things over in this zone. You had some temples over here. This area, if you sort of came around, would have had a really big theater. I have photos of the remains of all of this ancient stuff, but I'm not going to show it to you right now because, well, that would ruin the future. The museum is actually up on top of this hill, and you can look from the thing down here onto the actual ancient city remains. Pretty good view, by the way. Here we have a mosaic. I am a fiend for a mosaic. I love me some mosaics. And what we have here is a nice little entwined pattern. We have a titulus up here. And before everybody starts laughing, let me type it here, titulus. It has a little inscription. This would have been... The titulus, by the way, is this thing that's a triangle here and a triangle here that surrounds this sort of square thing in the middle. This would have all been done by hand. You know, each one of these little tiles would have been cut out and painted, or the rocks would have been selected for that particular color. I love me some mosaics. Okay, so Philippi was also originally, you know, like I said, it was Thracian, and then it was a Greek Macedonian colony, and then it became very Hellenized, but it was eventually taken over by the Romans. And the Romans are masters of glass in the ancient world. And this was a great little picture of lots of different pieces of Roman glasswork. This is exceedingly rare stuff. Glass does not hold up well. Ancient glass does not have the same durability that modern glass does. The chemicals that we put into modern glass makes it more durable. Ancient glass does not have that. We mostly see those in the subway, trying to read what stop it is. So this collection right here is what was really impressive. And I spent a long time looking at this because, again, I get excited about basic stuff like, hey, look, it's glass. Especially these long beaker type things that you see down here. That's the only one of these I've ever seen intact in my life. Now, I've seen pictures of them in books, but this is the only one that I've ever seen with my eyeballs. Really, really cool stuff. I love Roman glass. I would love to find a piece of Roman glass. I do not have any in my collection, and that's sort of a bucket list shard thing to find, is a piece of glass. All right, so we've got some really neat stonework. I love stonework. I should just go ahead and say there's not very much of the ancient stuff that's there that I don't like, you know? But I enjoy sharing stonework because it's just wicked cool stuff. The amount of detail that it took and the amount of skill that it took to carve something like that into stone without breaking all of the little pieces off, this is master craftsmanship. And the colors are cool. I do like the colors, as do. All right. You love stone stuff too? I dig it. All right. So Philippi is probably best known as being the receiver of one of the letters of the Apostle Paul. If you have read the Christian Bible, you'll know about the book Philippians. Philippians was written to the church at Philippi. And I thought that it was only appropriate if I shared a relic from one of the churches in Philippi. This would have been part of what's called a chancel screen. This is the part of the church that would have separated the people in the front area from the place where the priest would have stood. So in today, you usually, in modern Christian churches, you usually have like a step or two that separates the speaking position from the sort of people part of the church. Back in the ancient world, you would very frequently see chancel screens like this. Some of them were a lot more decorated, but this is particularly neat because it's more stonework. And being in Philippi, there is a pretty decent chance that some early Christian, kneeled in front of this and prayed at one point. So pretty cool stuff. Now, I should note that the letter to Philippi that Paul wrote was in the 1st century AD, and the particular church that this came from was much, much later. So it wouldn't have been someone that had maybe known the Apostle Paul that would have been doing this, visiting to the church. They would have been dead a few hundred years before that. But that is photo 100. So we have been through 100 different photos tonight. And that concludes my particular presentation. And it went a little bit longer than I expected it to, but that's okay because I feel like we were having some good chat, some good conversation. So, that being said, I hope you all dug that. What was your favorite thing? We could continue to chat here if you would like, or if you have any questions about any of that stuff. I would be happy to answer questions about any of those locations, give additional information about anything. If you have, anything. If you just want to talk about stuff, tombs and the castles, yeah. Would those first Christians in Philippi be converted Jews or believers in the Greek mythology? Potentially both. One of the things that the Apostle Paul was sort of known for was going to the synagogue. Paul was a Pharisee, so he had sort of an inside gate into the Jewish communities in a lot of these locations, and would go to the synagogues to preach his gospel and convert early Jews first. But there would have been, local people that were part of the Greek or Roman religion at that time that would have potentially heard that message and converted as well. Very cool stuff. Thank you very much. Like tombs in the castle, tombs and castles. Everybody's always about tombs and castles. What's in the news? Can you tell me why they are rioting in Ireland right now? I absolutely can. Let me catch up with chat. Favorite tombs? Sorry you were late. At least favorite. You want to know this too. I have so many questions about that tomb, but I don't want to drag this on. Oh, no, absolutely. You can ask them now. You can type them in the chat, and we'll get to it. We don't have to go anywhere. I'm sure you're familiar with the Jerusalem syndrome. Did you have any hopes your child, anything like that? Hopefully not full on, but once I had an insane sense of deja vu in Germany, as I never visited before, and everything was like, first I was such even though I didn't really. I'm sometimes impressed by the feel of a location. Sometimes I'll get somewhere and I'll have a lot of emotion. I don't think I've ever gone like full out, I've been here in a past life, or, I have had an experience here before. I can be overwhelmed by emotion with places, though. Cammy, seriously, if you have questions, you're welcome to put all of those in the chat. That's what we're here for. So let's talk about Ireland a little bit. And there has been a lot of rioting going on, especially in Northern Ireland, especially around some of the big cities. And the reasoning is still left over from that same old reason that Ireland was in such trouble during the basically the entire 1900s. The northern part of Ireland is mostly Protestant, and the southern part of Ireland it claims to be mostly Catholic. And under certain British government rules, they were separated, and England controlled all of Ireland for a while, but then only controlled the northern counties of Ireland. And now there are two countries on the island of Ireland. There's Ireland, capital Dublin, and there's Northern Ireland, capital Belfast. And Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom, of course, being Britain and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, and then all of the other territories like the Isle of Man and all of that stuff, all of the territories that the British government still controls. So the problem between the Protestants and the Catholics is that the Catholics in Ireland have always thought that Northern Ireland should be part of Ireland proper. And the Protestants that live in Northern Ireland are afraid that if they become part of Ireland proper, that their Protestant rights would be trampled on, and they would potentially be forced to convert to Catholicism. Of course, this is a fear that was much more relevant in past history than it is in modern history. And for a long period of time during the middle and late 1900s, there was a lot of violence, including a whole bunch of what we could only call terrorist activity with a group called the Irish Republican Army. And that was solved, that period of time is referred to as the Troubles. Very British, And that was solved in the 1990s with a couple of sit-down and meetings, and there was some agreements between Northern Ireland and Ireland about free and open commerce They don't have border checks. They can trade back and forth. There's a lot of equanimity between the two countries. However, the reason it's flaring back up right now is that the UK has left the Eurozone. They are no longer part of the European Union. And one of the sticking points for the UK leaving was, what are we going to do about the border in Ireland? If the Eurozone no longer is contiguous up there. So if leaving Ireland and going into Northern Ireland now not only means leaving one country and going to another country, but also leaving one economic zone and going into another economic zone, man, that's going to cause a lot of trouble. And the Irish politicians, both in Ireland and in Northern Ireland, were telling Boris Johnson, the PM of England right now, like, look, man, you got to be careful with this stuff, because if you goof this up, this is going to cause people to start fighting again. Because if you made a hard border, basically you started doing checkpoints, you started limiting commerce across the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, and you started putting up literal roadblocks to people moving back and forth, the people in Northern Ireland that want to be part of Ireland already are going to start rioting. And Boris Johnson was like, oh, we'll take care of it. And guess what? They didn't really fix the problem. And they still don't really know how that problem is going to be fixed, because they put a Band-Aid on the situation. So for a little while, everybody's pretending fictionally that there is no difference in the economic zones, but those are supposed to slowly phase out, and they're actually supposed to be boundaries, both physical and economic, put up over time, and it's causing a lot of trouble. And a lot of the people in Ireland that still believe Northern Ireland should be part of the country are getting very upset. A lot of the people inside of Northern Ireland that have a strong connection back to Ireland proper are very upset about all of this stuff. And there's riots in the streets, because there are a lot of people that are very worried that there's going to be some sort of, significant effect on the relationship between Ireland as a country and Northern Ireland as a country. And I don't know if there's a good solution to that. There are some people that are once again calling for the reunion of the island, so that there are people inside of Northern Ireland that want to hold a vote or a referendum on whether or not to leave the UK, and then apply for basically unification with Ireland as a country. They are not in the majority, but they are very vocal and very open about their desires. So I do not know how long that situation is going to last before it gets worse. I fear it will get much, much worse before it gets any better. Since there's so much looting, do they just accept this as a part of life? I can only assume so based on the fact that they're still using them. Does weather affect any of that land? Are there goats? Seasons of... Okay, so the first question. Jordan has an official tourist/archaeological police unit that literally patrols areas with guns, like machine guns. And I know this because I have been on the receiving end of some of those machine guns pointed at me, as has Stacy. Stacy, remember getting machine guns pointing at us in Jordan? That was fun times, right? They try to keep looting down. They try to patrol that stuff. They try to shut down the black markets. But a lot of it gets smuggled across the border. It gets moved around through nomadic Bedouin people into the deep black market. And it's almost impossible to patrol all of that region. Looting is a problem, and it's always going to be a problem. What was the next question? Does the weather affect any of that land? Well, to a certain extent, yeah. Anything that's ancient, that's made out of mud brick, that's left out exposed to the elements, is going to get eroded. And erosion is a pretty bad problem. In a lot of the areas that don't have a lot of money to put towards archaeological stuff, there are places that are falling apart. For example, Pakistan. There's a great city of the Harappan people called Mohenjo-Daro, and it's in modern day Pakistan. And they don't have the money to preserve it. It's made out of mostly mud bricks and some cut stone, but it's literally falling apart. It's by the Indus River, and the Indus River has flooded part of it and washed away part of it after they've excavated it. Some of the area was actually reinterred, so they dug it up and studied it and then covered it back up so that the elements wouldn't have as much of an effect on it. And that's actually a fairly common thing to do, especially in places where they know that there's not enough money to preserve the site. As you dig it up, you study it, and then you cover it back up. What was the third question? There are goats, so does it get seasons? Seasons are pretty common. You have a hot season and a wet season, and that's really, like, their winters don't really get very cold. It just rains a whole lot. Okay, Stacy's offering to share out the thesis. What is the common... Ooh. I need to figure out a way to keep my chat from scrolling when people talk. I don't know if there's a way to scroll lock this. What is the Commonwealth the royals have been referencing as the message comes from? The Commonwealth is basically all of the territory that the British people control. They still have colonies like the British Virgin Islands, the Falkland Islands. They have the territory in Gibraltar. They have part of the island of Cyprus. So basically, the Commonwealth is anything inside of the British territory, not just Britain. You can pause it or slow it on the back end. I'm actually looking at the chat inside of OBS, though. I don't know if that's part of the problem. Did I tell you got your shot next week? Awesome. You've been there too by the Dead Sea in Israel. Many checkpoints, lots. No one was worried. Yeah, machine guns. They're never fun. They're never fun. Nobody wants to see machine guns. Okay. I know in Louisiana they had a problem a few years ago with flooding, and the graveyard started flooding and seeping into the drinking water. Yes. There's actually there's another fort that's down by New Orleans as well that is in some pretty bad shape. It's right on the border of the area where the Mississippi River flows out of Lake Pontchartrain and goes into the Gulf of Mexico. I think it's Fort Pike is the name of it. That is in some pretty bad shape because of flooding and stuff. Okay, cool. All right, I am caught back up. Woo! Look at me. Caught back up. Okie dokie. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody want to redeem any channel points? Ask questions about stuff? We can just chat around. Whatever anybody desires. Anybody got questions? NOLA is below sea level. Yes, it is. The majority of the city is below sea level. It's a giant bowl. And if it rains a lot, it will start boiling. It gets really, really humid in New Orleans. Thanks for the answer. BBC has been saying Northern Ireland is right again. Yes, it is, pretty much. Streamlabs OBS, you can use the Twitch specific scrolling for the chat. Let me see if I can... Hey, check that out. Chat paused due to scroll. Cammy, you are brilliant. Learning something new every day. Love the cemetery tour in New Orleans. You got to go on for your birthday. I love cemeteries. Cemeteries are cool to go to. Ancient cemeteries, awesome. Modern cemeteries, still pretty cool. Anytime I can go hang around a bunch of iconography and symbolism, yeah, it's a good day. I spend a lot of time in cemeteries. Good stuff. Okay, let's see who might be around for us to perhaps go do the raiding. Who might we go raid? You teach me, I teach you. I'll take that deal. The one place with the inscription we took for Browning. Chatiorin. Oh, the cemetery was at Kiskalesi. I guess it depends on which inscription you're talking about. There was Chatiorin, which was the place that had the big inscription about pirates. That was on the backside of the church. That also had the Temple of Mercury. That also had the giant lintel piece with the humongous male member on it. The one with the hot springs. Yeah, that was actually on that same day where they had all the. No. That was starts with an H, and I can't say the word. Hierapolis. That was Hierapolis. Yep, that was a cool place. The gigantic necropolis. That's a good thing to show Hierapolis. Yep. With the hot springs, indeed. The hot springs is what gave it away. The Thermopylae. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Let us see where we might go do the raid. I've got a few people on. Alright, let's go raid Luna. Luna raided us the other day. Luna's currently playing some Breath of the Wild, and we will give Luna a bit of a raid and return the favor. Breath of the Wild, awesome game. Luna, great person. So we will show Luna some love and return the favor with the raid. Let us remember that our raid call is adventure, and then you may share as many of those lovely, lovely adventure hats as you so desire. We will be back on Thursday night, 1900s Central Standard Time, and we will be talking Native American early civilizations down in Central Mexico and Central America. Thanks for the stream. Much love, very much. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you for all of you that are subscribing. Moose and Jay and Tuna and Cammy, thank you all so much for the subs. Those really do make a difference. That helps me get stuff for the stream, and it is very much appreciated. So thank you all very, very much. I hope you all have a lovely next couple of days. I will see you all on Thursday. And until then, have a good one.